This week, folks across the country will take part in something called National School Choice Week, and that includes folks right here in the Piedmont. An event will be held tonight focusing on education initiatives across our state. And we are joined by National Education Advocate Dr. Fuller and Daryl Allison, President of Parents for Educational Freedom in North Carolina. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
So let's first talk about National School Choice Week. What is that?
Yeah, it kicked off last year, and this idea, we have 40 states and the District of Columbia that has public charter schools in operation. But we also, Katie, have 13 states in the District of Columbia that have passed policy for private education. Okay. And so North Carolina, with recent news last year, we passed elimination cap on public charter schools in our state, and we've passed the first private school bill that gave families with children with special needs the opportunity to get tax credits to attend the schools, the very first kind of non-public education scenario. So 50 states are participating this week, over 360 events. And I said, hey, it's time for the Tar Heel State to kind of add its name to that list. And so we're very happy to be, and we're very happy of the recent history that's upon us in our state. Wonderful.
Here we are. That brings us to tonight's big event. And I know you will be the keynote speaker. Could you tell us, Dr. Fuller, a little bit? You say that education reform is a civil rights issue, is the civil rights issue, correct?
Well, actually, I do believe it is a very important issue. And the reason why I think it connects to civil rights is because if you cannot read, if you cannot function at a high level educationally in this country and in this world, how do you become the type of productive citizen that we fought to make sure that people had these rights? So I think that there's a direct connection between being an educated person and being able to support the democracy, which is the critical part of making sure that we all have civil rights.
Absolutely. And be speaking at tonight's event, and can you tell us a little bit more about what folks expect if they attend?
Well, you know, the setting is perfect. We'll be at the International Center for Civil Rights Museum and having Dr. Howard Fuller. Before Dr. Howard Fuller was education reformer, he did work here in the 60s. And a lot of, he's a who's who in a lot of different ways. And we're also going to be featuring some of our education champions, one being Representative Marcus Brandon, who stood valiantly for some ed reform measures, understanding that not all children in our traditional public school system is getting the best education. And so we're really excited. We're going to honor him and honor those there. We're expecting over 200 to be in attendance, standing room only. So really excited. And then tomorrow we'll be in Winston-Salem. There's a great school there, public charter school, low income, at risk, and they got the highest distinction in the state of North Carolina in terms of quality. And we've got a lot to celebrate here in the state of North Carolina.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, gentlemen, so much for being with us. And I do want to mention Dr. Fuller, if he looks familiar, he was actually featured in Waiting for Superman. It's a very interesting documentary. So thanks again for being here. And tonight's event will be at the International Civil Rights Museum on South Elm Street in downtown Greensboro. Doors open at 6 o'clock.
You're watching the Triad's #1 newscast, XII 12 News.
School Choice Week across the nation, and organizers are hoping they'll be able to help parents select the right school for their kids, as well as highlight the need for education. Here in North Carolina, Governor Bev Perdue signed a bill that lifts the statewide cap on charter schools. That happened last summer. That means the number of charter schools across the state was able to surpass 100. We met education advocate Dr. Howard Fuller at the historical Woolworth's lunch counter in Grove. He says offering different school options will give each student the educational experience they need as an individual.
The truth is that on February 1st, 1960, 4 students sat down at these lunch counters and demanded to be served. In 2012, 4 black students sit down at a lunch counter and can't read the menu. That is the importance of education.
Education advocates will gather at 9:30 this morning at Quality Education Academy for Visit a Public Charter School Day.
A former Durham civil rights worker and Milwaukee, Wisconsin school superintendent praises North Carolina laws favoring school choice. Dr. Howard Fuller spoke at the International Civil Rights Museum in Greensboro Tuesday. He praised our lawmakers for lifting a cap on charter schools, creating a tax credit to subsidize private education. Fuller believes those level the playing field.
Just because a school is public, it doesn't mean it's bad. And just because it's private, it doesn't mean that it's good. The reality is that we want low-income and working-class parents to be able to look out from amongst the range of options that are there and pick the one that works best for their kids.
for Educational Freedom hosted Dr. Fuller. Fuller is credited with keeping the peace in Durham after Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination.
Triad's first television station to the next level. News 2.0. Serving Borough, Winston-Salem, High Point, Burlington, and the Piedmont. The news this is WFMY News 2 in HD.
Well, just because we've always done something one way doesn't mean that we shouldn't look at all the options. The possibility for changes in public education is what is at the heart of a Free Talk tonight. Dr. Howard Fuller says education reform is the civil rights issue of our time. At 6:30 tonight, he'll be talking about education initiatives like charter schools, vouchers, and our public school system. You can hear Dr. Fuller at the International Civil Rights Center and Museum again tonight.